when a woman has a C-section, too many of us feel like we didn't give birth. Even when you go into labor and you've been laboring for, I don't know, 15 hours or even more, once they cut you open, which is when the birth happens, that moment is taken away from you because you don't, first of all, you don't feel anything, you're numb. They take out the baby and then they give you the child and they tell you, congratulations, you have a child. But as a mom, you feel that you haven't really done anything.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Compass Show. Today we have something special for you. So every day we have about 385,000 births. Babies are born alive, but due to our modern lifestyles and other things, you are not really able to fully participate in the process of childbirth. So we have Bobette here to help us make sense of all these processes from the beginning of childbirth to the end. Where does it start? Does it start from the sperm? Does it start from the eggs? Does it start from before you even produce the sperm? And where does it end? Bobette is a doula. Hello Bobette, welcome to the Compass Show.
Thank you.
My name is Kofi.
I'm Bobette. Nice to meet you, and it's an honor being here. Thank you for having me. I just want to correct on one thing. 1 out of 3 pregnancies ends in a miscarriage.
1 out of 3 pregnancies.
So some women will experience multiple miscarriages while other women never.
Okay. How do you spell a doula?
D-O-U-L-A.
D-O-U-L-A.
Yes.
And what do you do as a doula?
So a doula is a birth companion. That's just really the short version of it. There's multiple types of doulas. There's doulas who will accompany or offer support to pregnant families, so couples who are expecting to have a baby. Other doulas will focus on the birth, others on postpartum. So basically what we do is we advocate for the future parents to have their birth plan respected, I should say. We educate them on childbirth. And in my case, I'm a full spectrum doula, so I do all 3, pregnancy, birth, and postpartum.
So you're a companion for all 3, pregnancy, birth.
Throughout the whole pregnancy, the birth, and the postpartum, exactly. Okay. So I will offer prenatal classes, childbirth classes. I offer hypnobirthing classes. Those are really classes to help you deal with the pain that comes with labor and delivery. I will offer support during births as well. So we will make a birth plan together, whether they want to have the baby at home or at the hospital. I make sure that their wishes are respected to the best of their ability. And then afterwards, once baby is born, I offer breastfeeding support and then also support at home for the mom specifically. Because now we're clearly in Ghana, my role has been redefined a little bit.
Yeah.
I get a lot of people from the diaspora who have no clue of where to give birth, where to start, where to get started once you're in Ghana and you are pregnant or you want to give birth. So their question is it safe to have a baby in Ghana?
Is it?
Is it, right? Is it? That's the main question. So I will accompany them through finding the best doctor, the best hospital, the best midwife, you know, to basically assemble their birthing team for their baby.
Okay. So why Ghana?
Why Ghana?
Yeah.
I can say a few things. The year of return.
Oh, you came with them?
No, I didn't come with them, but it was promoted so beautifully. Like, they really did a good job getting people to come to Ghana. It sounded so great. That helped a lot. My husband and I, when we got married, it's 7 years ago now, when we got married, we decided that we would move to a warmer country. We met in Canada, we got married in Canada, and clearly Canada is not very warm during the winter time.
Right.
So instead of complaining every year, we wanted to move to a warmer country. So that was definitely one of the biggest things for us.
But where are you originally from?
So I'm born in Congo.
Okay.
I'm born in Congo. I moved to Belgium when I was 2, and then I moved to Canada about 10 years ago.
Okay.
So, and now we've been in Ghana for 2 years.
For 2 years.
Yes.
Yeah. So far, how do you see it?
Ghana is fine.
Was
Ghana
it as
is
you
good.
expected? You know, as you had thought out in your head?
Yes, we did a lot of research. So, is it what we expected? In some ways, some of the things are better, other things are worse. So I could say yes. I haven't gone through major disappointment since I've been here. So
Yeah, that's a good thing. Yeah.
absolutely.
That's +1 for Ghana.
+1, yes.
Right. So, so what were you doing in Canada?
In Canada.
What work?
So I've been a doula for 9 years now.
9 years.
9 years. Before that, I worked. I was doing the administration in a hospital in Canada as well, but I've always wanted to be a midwife. I actually studied midwifery for 2 years in Belgium. I did not finish my. I don't have a midwifery degree. I'm not a midwife because I did not finish. When I left Belgium, I noticed that I learned about doulas. I had no clue what a doula was, just like many people, I guess. But I met a midwife who was offering doula classes, and I just loved her energy. I love how down to earth she was. She was more of an she is more of an alternative doula. So she taught me a lot, almost everything she knows. And this is what I wanted to do. When I was in Belgium, I remember during my internship, this was a long time ago. I look young, but I'm older than I look. This was 20 years ago. I remember people just not wanting to be touched by me because, I had a different skin color. Yeah, I remember the racism in the hospitals. And the fact that I've always wanted to be an independent midwife, so being able to do home births, just being able to work on my own, rather than being in a hospital full-time and depending on everybody else around the hospital. And back then, 20 years ago, it wasn't a possibility. So I figured, what's the point? If I'm going to end up doing something that I don't want to do. But then when I became a doula, I became much more mobile, just like now. I go wherever the client wants to give birth. And it's great. It's been amazing.
Yeah. Interesting. So what does it take to become a doula?
What does it take? Nowadays, there's so many doula classes. You can find classes online. Some of them are 2 days, sometimes are a week. I would say a good doula, obviously she has the proper training, but also the experience. What I love about my training is that the theory wasn't that long, but I had to shadow another doula. I had to shadow another midwife for a very long time until they felt that I was ready to do births on my own. So it wasn't a business. The way the midwife was doing her classes, it wasn't just about getting as many students as possible, getting the money, and then that's it. So you had to shadow another. And for me, it took almost 2 years because life happened. I had a child. So I wasn't able to attend as many births as she would have wanted or as I was just able to. But then it took me about 2 years before she said that, okay, now you're good to go on your own. And I loved it.
Do you have some number of births you have to supervise before
During that time,
good,
some trainings, the one I really like in Canada says 50 births, which I think it's beautiful. especially because there's so many different types of birth. When you are present during a home birth and everything goes the way it's supposed to go, obviously you learn a lot, but you learn more when there's different situations happening. So the more experience you have, the better.
Yeah. Why should people trust a doula?
First thing I would say is not everybody needs a doula, for sure.
Okay.
I would never impose my services on anyone who's not interested in having a doula, that's for sure.
Okay.
Most of my clients are people who need extra support, who are like physical support, mental support, who are looking to be educated more about childbirth, whether it's your first child or your third or your seventh, they need that extra support. Some people they don't necessarily have family with them, or I should say supportive family. They want a specific type of birth, but there's no one really in their environment who will support them having that birth. So that's it. And like I said, we advocate whether it's at the hospital, at the birth, it's at the home, it's less necessary, but we definitely try to make sure that the mother's wishes are respected. Okay. If she wants to have, a water birth or a lotus birth or simple vaginal birth, we go for the alternatives rather than, go straight to the medication or surgery or something else. We really try to make sure that we explore all the other options first.
When you say alternatives, what do you mean?
What I mean with the word alternatives is different options. So I'll be the one to explore different options. If she wants, let's say a mother is in labor and she's not dilating as fast as the medical staff would like for her to dilate, I would suggest options. I would suggest to walk around, to try to ball, to take a shower, to eat. There's different things that we can do rather than, just wait and see what happens.
I see. So in Ghana here, do you think you've been accepted by Ghanaians?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think my husband and my children are pretty easy people, and we've made amazing friends. We've made very good friends. So far, we've had good experience with Ghanaians, so I think so. I think they like us.
So from your background as a doula over there, are most of your clients in the diaspora or are most of your clients Ghanaians?
I would say 70% of my clients are from the diaspora, and 30 are Ghanaians. The reason why though is in the States, in the UK, in Canada, in the West, they already know what doulas are. When I came here, I'll never forget the very first birth. I accompanied a couple, the first baby. I had met the doctor beforehand and I told him what I do. And then the night of the birth, it was at 2:00 a.m. I saw a midwife. I had never seen her before. I told her I was a doula and she had no clue what a doula was. So she gave me an apron, she gave me gloves, and she told me to go deliver the baby while she went to another room. So I spend a lot of time explaining what I do, what I don't do, not just to the medical staff, but also just, in interviews like I'm doing now, people that contact me that are just curious. There's also a lot of word of mouth. So people will talk about their experience with me, and slowly but surely, I'm getting more and more Ghanaians, I'm really happy with the diasporans, definitely. But my goal was really to come here and, to give back to the continent. So bit by bit, that number is increasing as well.
So what has been your biggest hurdle in Ghana here?
My biggest hurdle?
In terms of practicing your profession?
I would say, so I've been here for 2 years now. Most of the hospitals have been open to my presence, but not all of them. So my biggest hurdle is to show them or to explain to them that I'm not here because we don't trust, what you're doing in the
you
hospital.
You can easily come over as you don't
Yes.
so you're bringing somebody in to make sure everything is fine.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I've been made very unwelcome in a few, luckily very, very few hospitals, only 2 if I can be honest with you. So not really to convince them, but yes, to share with them what I do, what I don't do. And I'm not here to compete with the system. I'm not here to compete with anyone. I'm here just as the other midwife to help give a great experience or create the best experience possible for the mom. That's it.
Right. So can people contact you before they plan on getting pregnant? Or when they get pregnant, that's when they contact you?
It depends on them. Right now, I have a few couples who are thinking of conceiving, which I think is beautiful because personally, I believe that birth starts way before you're even pregnant. So some of my clients now, they are on a spiritual diet, I should say, physical diet as well. Like both men and women are conceiving the child, so they should both be healthy physically, mentally, spiritually. So they're getting ready on all levels to conceive the child first. And that can be in different ways. It can be what you eat, what you think. It can simply be healing from past traumas as well to make sure that you don't reproduce the same thing. So people contact me anytime. The only people that I can't really help or I'm hesitant to help is those who contacted me last minute, like a week before the birth. It just doesn't give me enough time to prepare and to give you the best possible experience either.
So since you mentioned that you're a bit spiritual, so spiritually, how would you define the significance of the human life? Our experience here, because people come, they die, they go. So what's the point anyway? So why do we keep giving birth? What's the spiritual significance of human life?
For me personally, it's all about the experience, going through emotions. I know one of my reasons why I'm here is to experience it all. I want to live. I want to go through the emotions. Nobody wants to feel pain, but I think I chose to come here to at least know what it is, and then go through something else. Yes, just experience different emotions.
Yeah, and then make it better for.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
So before people decide to give birth, they should make sure 1, they are healthy, and then 2, they've gotten rid of all traumas. And then is there a third one?
I would also say not just, I would say manifest your child. So in Congo, we don't just have children randomly, like you want to have 3 children, so you have 3 children. We look at the family structure and we say, okay, we need this type of energy in our household. So we are going to, I don't know if you believe in the elements, so you got the water, fire, earth, air signs. So every sign comes with a specific energy as well.
Okay.
Right? So in our case, my husband and I, we knew that we needed a water sign, we needed an air sign, and we conceived around the time so we would have that air sign. This is just the elements. But at the same time, when you notice that you already have 2 children and they're very turbulent, this is a French word for, they're very active, and you want to have a 3rd one. So now you're going to do your best to make sure that 3rd one is a calmer child.
How do you make sure of that?
Well, I guess I would say again the elements, And then when you're manifesting things, you speak those things into existence. I'm very keen on writing things down. So when we had our second child, I wrote down everything I wanted that child to be, and I would pray over those words. I would pray over that child, and I would call that spirit into existence. I'm not saying that it worked 100%, but because, you know, we have a boy, we wanted to have a girl. But when it comes to the character of the child, like a lot of it is what we manifested.
It's quite intriguing that you're saying that, you know, you manifested that whole process. I'm sure that most of the men, I don't know if the men you usually do that, but I don't know men who really manifest these things. Usually women, you see them reading a lot, going into the whole process, but men are usually laid back with the whole childbirth. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think what I tell most of my clients is men and women experience pregnancy and birth differently, obviously. So a woman becomes a mom the minute she gets pregnant. A man becomes a father as soon as he can see the baby, as soon as the baby is born. So that's when he will start to adjust to everything. For the woman, she's pregnant, she's carrying the child, so she's going to go through the process mentally differently. She has the whole 9 months to manifest all the things that she wants to prepare. For the man, it starts the minute he can actually see the child. You can see that the man is getting into action and starting doing a whole bunch of things that he might not have done while, you know, the woman was pregnant. He had the whole 9 months, but once the baby is born, you're going to see them getting more into action.
Right.
And then what I also want to say is more and more men are very in tune with their partner and more active during the whole process of pregnancy and childbirth. I would say maybe the older generation would think that, you know, pregnancy is for women and, you know, we've done our part and once the baby's there, we can be more active. But I'm seeing more and more couples coming to my classes together. I actually have a class just for the men because I want them to be involved just as much as the women and explain certain things to them so they also understand what their woman is going through. But there's actually a lot of men who they feel helpless because they can't take away the pain. They can't deliver for the mom. They want to help. So it's beautiful.
So it's an emerging thing now. More of these things are coming up.
Yes, absolutely.
So the childbirth industry, the childbirth scene right now, from the behavior of the mother, the behavior of the father, the behavior of the doctors and the nurses and all those involved in the childbirth process. How do you see it now in Ghana compared to the world and how it was previously?
So I came here with certain expectations, thinking, you know, based on my very limited knowledge of Africa, especially the medical system, thinking that in Ghana, I'm not in the position to compare Ghana because I'm in Accra.
Okay, Accra.
Very small.
Accra. Ghana.
I'm not speaking tree yet, but I'm coming. I'm getting there. So I have noticed that in Canada, more and more people are getting cesarean sections. The rate is just increasing every month, every year. And coming here to the motherland, I was expecting to see a difference, which is unfortunately not the case in Accra. So I haven't been anyone's doula in, you know, the villages or anywhere outside of my area simply because I can't get there fast enough. But I'm noticing that in hospitals here, the cesarean rate is also increasing drastically. There's a few hospitals where I would go to on a regular basis during the first year who barely had any C-sections. And now I was told that half of the women who go there have a C-section. So I'm also seeing that they're selling a lot of medication. So a lot of births are pregnancies and birth overly medicated, which I didn't expect. I'm thinking, I'm going to the motherland.
More indigenous ways.
Exactly, traditional. I'm going to learn about traditional ways of using herbs and spices and different techniques. But I haven't been able to find that in Accra. I'm pretty sure if I go more in different regions, it will be different over there. But I'm noticing that Accra is kind of following the West by selling more and more medication, by sending the patients to pharmacies to get better, rather than using what Mother Nature gave us in the first place.
But what's the problem with that? Somebody would ask, what's the problem with going to get a drug for?
It's a business. One thing is that women, men are always going to have children. You're never going out of business when you're in the birth working field. Never. You will always work as a doctor. People are always getting sick. You will always work as a midwife, always. Babies are born, I think now it's every 3 minutes, if not more, constantly. So if you can make money on that, that's how some people think. If you can get rich by people giving birth every 3 minutes, then why not? Unfortunately, it shouldn't be a business. It shouldn't be detrimental to the people who are having the child, which is actually the case now.
How is that? How is that detrimental to that?
It's detrimental in the sense that taking medications have side effects. Getting unnecessary C-sections have side effects on the mother and the baby as well. Not just physically, but mentally. A lot of women have been traumatized during birth because they have to go through something they never intended on going through. If it's really an emergency and it's life-saving, it's a completely different story. But women getting a C-section, and it happens all the time. It happens, I don't know who your viewers are, but it happens all the time when doctors get out of patient, they run out of patients, or it's getting late, or whatever the reason is, but the mother gets an unnecessary, I would say, a C-section that is not an emergency.
Okay.
It happens all the time.
Some of them schedule it.
Sorry?
Some of them schedule the C-section.
Oh yeah. Especially around Friday evening, around the holidays, definitely.
What do you think about that one too?
I went through one myself, and it took me years to get over it. I think it's horrible. Oftentimes they will give you your baby and just make you feel that, you have a healthy baby. What are you complaining about? It's not that. It's that you're taking away the power. Every woman has the power to give birth. You're taking away the person's wishes, the person's experience, just for money, right? When a woman has a C-section, too many of us feel like we didn't give birth.
Really?
Of course, because we didn't, even when you go into labor and you've been laboring for, 15 hours or even more, once they cut you open, which is when the birth happens, that moment is taken away from you, because first of all, you don't feel anything, you're numb. They take out the baby and then they give you the child and they tell you, congratulations, you have a child. But as a mom, you feel that you haven't really done anything. When I had my first child, it took me months before I realized that I gave birth. Yes, I'm a mom, but I gave birth, and it's very, very traumatizing.
I mean, our modern lifestyles have really, somewhat taken that away from us. You know, we've outsourced all these things, the care to the doctor. The doctor should decide for us. We've outsourced almost everything. We don't even think about it. We just, doctor tells us, oh, take your zinc tablets, take the
calcium, the
yeah,
iron.
yeah. Take all these tablets and then you just take it. But how do we know we are actually doing the right thing?
Yeah, I do believe that most people who go into medicine, who become doctors, who become, you know, in any field they choose to, they go in with good intentions. I believe that most midwives have good intentions. What I've noticed here, though, is that there's a lack of communication, in the sense that when you have, here they call it antenatal care, you go into the office and it's like 10-15 minutes and you're out, and not much is being explained to you. I've noticed that some doctors don't like it when moms ask questions, because that's my role. I want you to know as much as possible about your pregnancy, about your birth, and then if you have, so that you can make the best decision for yourself. And if you have questions, you ask the doctor all your questions. But I'm realizing that they don't, not all of them, of course, but some don't like it when you ask too many questions, because now you're taking back control, and it's almost like you're doubting them. It's not about them, it's about the parents' experience, you know, them taking back, making their own decisions for what's best for their family, right?
Yeah.
So,
But has that always been the case? I mean, compared to previously more indigenous childbirth, is that always the case where the person helping you deliver is the one who to dictate to you what you should do and all that?
I don't know the history of all of that. What I do know is that there was a time, and maybe there still is, where a doctor was being seen as next to God. That person is next to God. He's going to save my life. You know, I'm putting my life in your hands.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of great doctors who do great work. But nowadays, we also know that, you know, we also have choices. We should also be able, not question the doctor per se, but just, you know, when you, okay, let me put it this way. When you have a teacher in school, when you have a doctor, you don't really think about what are their beliefs, how are they at home, what kind of wife do they, what kind of husband do they, where do their children go to school, what do they like, what don't they like. We just trust them because they're a doctor, so they must know it all. Or we put our children in school, we don't find out what the teacher is into and what they do and stuff. We just trust them blindly with our children, we trust them blindly with our lives. But we just need to put more, we need to study a little bit more. When we buy a house, when we buy a car, when we're investing a lot of money into something, we do all this research. But with our health, we're just supposed to give our life in the hands of someone else.
And that's basically modern, the modern lifestyle now. You know, now people don't have the time to be able to do all this research and all these things. They're focusing on their work, you know, so they have to outsource all these things. So even in research, I've seen in science.
Yes, and that's what I encourage. Like, study for yourself, ask questions. Some doctors like it, others don't, and that's just life, I guess. But if you have someone and they really don't like that you know too much, for me, it's a red flag. Because why don't you want them to know about their own health, right?
Right. Yeah, that's a question mark.
Yeah.
How do I know you're doing the right thing? I mean, yeah.
That's it.
Anyway, so from here compared to where you're from, Canada, is there a similar situation where the doctors don't want to be questioned?
No, no. When it comes to that, no. In Canada, they will take their time with you. They will respond to your questions. They will walk you through the whole process without a problem. I noticed just here, maybe this is what I've been told though, that in some places in Ghana, women the number of illiterate women is just a little bit higher, so the doctors aren't used to them asking too many questions. So when they now do get a person who I come with a list of questions and I give that list to my clients, and it's simple things like where do I park the car when I'm in labor? Which room do I go to once I'm in labor? Is there a blood bank in your hospital? Is there a water tank? Is there a generator? How long do I stay after baby is born? Do I have to give formula? There's just so they can visualize their birth. It's not because we don't trust the hospital. It's about the mother's experience, yes, so that she can prepare better, and the husband too, of course. They can prepare better, and then once time comes, things can just go fluently.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but it doesn't really come off as that.
Not always. Not always.
Yeah. So, now I want us to go into the childbirth proper.
Sure.
Right. Once somebody finds out they're pregnant, what should they do?
I would say, because the first 3 months, a lot can happen. The first 3 months, rest, make sure you eat well, don't do too much. Don't get prepared yet. Don't tell anyone other than maybe your mom or a few people you really trust. But the first 3 months, you shouldn't really do much.
The first 3 months, the first trimester.
Trimester, exactly, okay. Because the chances of having a miscarriage in the first trimester are pretty high. Whether it's your first baby, your fifth, first trimester is still very, very sensitive. That's it. So now afterwards, once you hit 4 or 5, I would suggest that you start deciding on what type of birth you want. So get ready, obviously, if you haven't already, like financially, but what type of birth experience would you like to have? Do you want to deliver at home? Do you want to go to the hospital? How do you feel about lab results, lab tests, giving blood? Who do you want, not just who do you want at the birth, but like I mentioned before, what kind of experience do you want to have? What do you know about birth? Do you think you know enough? Do you think you should take a class? What about your partner? How does he feel? Because he needs to be involved just as much. What kind of experience would you like to have? So you've mentioned that a lot of people don't know enough, unfortunately, which is very true. So in that case, I suggest you either, you can find a doula, you can find a midwife, you can find a course, a class that will teach you more about childbirth and prepare you and your partner also the best to their ability for the birth.
So we want to hear from you, right? We want to hear what should somebody do when they find out that they are pregnant. I mean, when it comes to the diet, what kind of food should they eat? When it comes to exercise, should they exercise?
Yes.
Should they have more sex? I mean.
Okay. Well, first trimester, second trimester, fine. When it comes to sexual intercourse, I would say third trimester, just be careful of when. But since you've already done that and now you're pregnant, what do you eat? I would say a diet in high iron, a lot of iron. Oftentimes they suggest women to take iron supplements because especially us melanated women, our iron levels are low. And it can cause big issues when you're giving birth. So definitely a diet high in iron, calcium. You're creating bones in there, so you need extra calcium. Even after giving birth, if you're breastfeeding, you need calcium. Babies are so cute, but they're vicious. They will take the calcium out of your bones. Too many of my clients have cavities. because they're not taking in enough calcium. You need vitamins, you need zinc, you need magnesium, all these things. If you're eating meat, like stay away from raw meat, stay away from raw fish as well. You don't want any fish with too much mercury in. You don't want that anyway, but especially not when you're pregnant. You should increase your water intake. So basically the amniotic fluid is, just in a nutshell, the more you drink, the more amniotic fluid you will produce.
That's the fluid around the baby.
Around the baby, and that replenishes every 3 hours. So 8 times a day, you have new, clean amniotic fluid in you. The amniotic fluid is actually the baby's urine. So you drink, the baby drinks, and the baby urinates. It's not dirty, it's really good, it's very healthy, it protects the baby. So if you don't drink enough, the baby will sit in the same amniotic fluid for too long. So drinking is crucial, whether it's hot or cold. If it's hot, you need to drink even more than usual, but you need to stay hydrated from the moment you're pregnant up until you're done breastfeeding. Because if you're breastfeeding and you're not drinking, you will decrease your breast milk production.
What about dairy? I hear dairy is not really good because it interferes with the hormones because of how the dairy is produced. The animals are given growth hormones. Most of the animals are GMO animals. So the products that come from them.
So if you're eating any meat or fish as organic as possible, I suggest you do that. Another thing that I really want to stress on, some people are vegan, some people are vegetarian, some people are pescatarian. It doesn't matter what you are or what you like to eat. When you are pregnant, you need to eat what makes you healthy. Too many of the people around me, they want to stick to that vegan diet. They want to stick to, not eating a certain thing because that's what they believe in. But when you're pregnant, your hormones change completely. Now you're taking care, you're growing another human being inside of you. Your body is going to start screaming for a whole bunch of things, and you can listen to that voice. You can say no to a couple things, but it can also it can work on your mood. Right? Because your body is telling you, okay, I need to eat chicken. And here you are thinking, no, I can't eat chicken. I'm a vegetarian or I'm vegan. I should not eat chicken. There's a reason why your body is telling you to eat something specific. So it would be interesting to dig deep. It could simply be because the chicken contains protein. Maybe you're missing protein and you can eat more nuts, or you can eat more lentils or beans, or maybe it's just that. But it can also be that your mom is not around you and she used to make the best chicken when you were younger. So it's the feeling of missing that connection with your mom, or just wanting to reproduce. So it's a lot of, studying to where is it coming from. Don't just be too severe with yourself, but go into why am I missing this? And if it's really because of the protein, I would say it's okay to eat a little meat here and there, especially when you're pregnant. You don't want to deprive yourself from nutrients just because.
So you need a balanced approach to it. You need to study and just exercise good judgment.
Yes. You spoke about exercising as well. I suggest you stay fit, because giving birth is hard work. So, you don't have to run a marathon. You don't have to do anything crazy, but stay on your feet. It will also help you with the blood flow. So if you're exercising, you can continue depending on how much actually. But stay fit, walk around, be on your feet, exercise here and there. It's actually really, really good.
So is this during the first trimester or throughout?
Throughout the whole labor, even up until baby is born. If you can stay fit and exercise, that's actually great. As long as nothing dangerous,
So you mentioned the first trimester that, there are some things that you're supposed to do. What about the second and the third?
So about the first trimester, I said when you're pregnant, You make sure you stay, this is for during the whole pregnancy, you stay hydrated, you eat high protein diet. We spoke about calcium, we spoke about water, iron as well, magnesium and zinc. This is for the whole pregnancy. Now you're into the second trimester. You keep eating that way, you keep drinking that way. Now it's time to find your birth team, because now you're realizing that you're having a baby. Baby is most likely coming in 6 months, but baby will come. You're going to be a parent. So now it's basically choosing what kind of birth you want. Do you want to give birth at home? Do you want to give birth at the hospital? If you want to give birth, let's just start with the hospital. You want to give birth at the hospital. Are you okay with a male doctor? Are you okay with a female doctor? Not too many people know that they can pick their provider. So if you're going to one hospital and for whatever reason you're not comfortable giving birth there, you don't have to stay. You don't have to stay. You can choose another facility. You can stay at the same facility and pick another doctor, which is completely fine. And that is something you can do throughout the whole pregnancy, even up until 36, 37 weeks. Is for whatever reason something is making you uncomfortable, leave. Leave. That's one of the things I highly suggest. You leave, and even though it might be challenging, you will most likely find someone to support you. So now you're in your second trimester, you find a birth team, find a hospital, you find a doctor. If you want to give birth at a hospital, if you want to give birth at home, you find a midwife. You adjust your house to the home birth as well, not just having the baby, but the birth as well. I work with a team of amazing midwives who will come to your house and who will do home births. I also know a few other doulas who I work together with in case I have more than one client, and let's say 2 moms get in labor at the same time. I always guarantee that there will be somebody there. If it's not me, it's going to be another person. So during your pregnancy, you get to meet the midwife. You can pick which midwife you can work with. If you're working with me, I have like at least, I have a couple midwives you can choose from. And then also my partners, my other doulas who I work with, you can pick whichever one you're comfortable with. So now once you have your birth team, you go to the prenatal classes, whether it's at the hospital or you book them with me or you find them online, it doesn't matter. As long as you prepare yourself. There's so much to know about birth, so much. It's not just diet and exercises. All these things are important, but they're cute, but it goes way deeper than that.
Can you give us just a
It goes so
tip?
much deeper. Of course, where to start? So, okay, let me say this. You're in labor, what kind of pain relief would you like? There's different types of pain relief. If you don't want any pain relief, what are the different things you can do? That is just one thing. Inductions. What do you know about inductions?
How to induce the pregnancy.
Induce. Why would the doctor even bring up induction? So I start my classes usually in the 3rd trimester so that all the information is still fresh. And before somebody might bring up an induction, for example, so they already know what it is by the time somebody brings it up. Usually it would be the doctor. So another thing,
Cord clamping.
Cord clamping, lotus birth, water birth, the placenta. What is the placenta? What do I do with it? Have you ever seen a placenta? No, why not? Do you know how much your placenta is worth? What do you do with it? Do you bury it? Do you freeze it? Do you encapsulate it?
Can you why is it seems from what you're saying, it seems like it's very important. Like you said, worth of a placenta? Like money value?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
I can't speak for Ghana because in Ghana you can give birth and they will give you your placenta home without a problem. In the States they sell placentas. It's $50,000 per placenta.
Yeah?
There's people who go to hospitals who collect placentas and who resell them. And they do a whole bunch of things with the placenta. So the most common thing is make medication. They use it in skincare or makeup. Yeah, skincare as well.
Stem cells, something.
Stem cells. That's another thing. That's a big thing. Did you know that you can freeze your placenta? Obviously, with the lights out here, it's not always a good idea, but you can freeze your placenta.
Yeah.
I still have clients who gave birth 8 years ago and they have their placenta in their freezer. So you can freeze them. And in case that child or a sibling or even yourself, you get ill later on in life, you can use the stem cells from that placenta to heal yourself or the child.
Wait a minute. So I have a placenta in the fridge.
You have a placenta in the fridge.
It's made up of blood and some other things.
Exactly.
So if I feel sick, do I take the placenta and take it to the hospital? I can just take it.
They can bring it to the lab. No. You don't do anything. You just bring the placenta.
Okay.
That's it. And they will
lab.
know how to use the stem cells. Yes. I haven't seen this happening in Ghana. But it happens in the States, it happens in Canada, it happens in Belgium, it happens all the time. All the time. And I'm telling you, 50,000. When I had my first son, we had to sign an affidavit. We had to go to the notary and state on a piece of paper that we're bringing our placenta home.
Your own placenta
My own
from your
placenta.
body. You have to go and sign that they should give it to you.
Yes.
Because what is?
Because they keep it. They keep it, and it's because it's a biohazard. So they're afraid that it get contaminated or contaminate other people. But I mean, here they just give it to you, and I'm very happy they do.
Is it really a biohazard, or is it just a business model that they are running?
I think it's more of the second one.
The business model, yeah. Because if it's $50,000, then I mean that's basically free money for the doctors.
And just like breast milk, you're not allowed to sell your own placenta. You're allowed to donate it, but others can sell it. Same with breast milk. You're not allowed to sell your own breast milk. So I can donate
to somebody for the person to sell it.
Yeah, to the hospital. Who else? Who else? It's something.
Yeah,
it's something,
yeah,
and they don't tell you this necessarily. And my role is just I share the information, and you decide what you're going to do with it.
Then your services are pretty essential.
Thank you.
Because this $50,000, I don't know, it can come in handy.
Oh yes. And you know how expensive it is to give birth? I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah. You walk out of the hospital, either you paid cash or you owe money to someone now. So
and the health insurance and other things don't really cover it. Yeah.
No, it's a business. We mentioned earlier the lotus birth, for example. So there's different types of birth. So now you're in your second trimester, you pick your team, you have an idea of what kind of birth you want. So what I would do with my patient is create a birth plan. What do you want? What don't you want? How do you want the room to be? Who do you want present? What else? There's so much. My birth plan is a few pages. It's very, very, very detailed. Very detailed. It's a plan. It doesn't mean, I'm going to try to stick to it, but things change, right? So during one of my classes, I also explain different types of births. Water births. I'm so proud to be able to say that I've introduced water birth in some hospitals. I've worked in Ghana.
Okay.
I came with my birth pool from Canada. So because most of my clients are diasporans, they know what water birth is. So I've done home water births with local midwives who studied water birth in school, but who've never experienced it. So, so we've done water births at home. I've even done water births at the hospital. And now, you know, I'm slowly but surely trying to just spread more, not just me though. There's other midwives, there's people who are way more experienced in the field than me. We're trying to share the awareness of all the benefits of a water birth.
As I was speaking to a doctor once, and he was like, we are land animals. Yeah, we are land animals. So
where is the baby when the woman's pregnant?
The baby is in the woman's womb.
What's in the womb?
Amniotic fluid.
Baby's in the water.
Yeah, that's the water. But then when you give birth, it's on the land. So why do you have to give birth in the water?
Well, there's so many benefits. So many.
Please enlighten me.
I think that especially here, people are afraid of what they don't know. Most doctors, I can't speak for all hospitals, but the hospitals I've worked in, the doctor only comes is present during the birth when there's an emergency.
Okay.
When something isn't going right. If everything is well, it's the midwives that are handling the birth. Yes, we are land animals, but water really, really helps to speed up the labor. I think that most doctors have not seen...
Speeds up the labor?
The delivery, yes.
Oh, okay.
I think that most doctors have not even seen a water birth, because water birth only happens when everything is normal, when the mother is healthy, when the baby is healthy. So it would be the midwives that would have the most experience, because there's no surgery, you can't have a water birth if there's a high risk situation. Absolutely not, whether it's the mom or the baby. If you speak to midwives who have done water birth, they will tell you all the benefits. A lot of them swear by water births because they've seen what good it can do to the mom. Now, what was the second question?
Yeah, what happens in emergency?
Okay, emergency, and you're at home.
Yeah.
So the good thing is that I work with very high skilled midwives who are in the system. Nothing is illegal, nothing is hidden under the table. So they are trained to do births, all kind of births. So that's one. If those midwives are not able to deliver the child, that's when we have to go to the hospital. Doctors will not come to the home birth unless it's a friend or something. But if we go to the hospital, it's because the baby is not going to come out the normal way. I mean, normal is such a horrible word, sorry. Vaginal way, I should say. And the mother and the baby, they need assistance. Once I've had a hospital transfer, once.
Now, how long did it take you to get to the hospital?
45 minutes.
Isn't that too long?
It is long, but we went on time. So so basically what had happened is the mother had preeclampsia. So it was clear that she had preeclampsia.
What's preeclampsia?
Preeclampsia is when you have a high level of protein in your body, you have a very high blood pressure, and then you have your body is retaining water. So usually your legs, your arms, everything is triple the size.
Swollen.
It's very, very swollen. So in that particular case, you know, as soon as we got to the home birth, it wasn't as bad last time we saw the mom. But when we arrived and we saw her in labor, we knew that this is not a good situation. So we left before it became an emergency.
Okay.
So once we got to the hospital, she was able to labor as long as she wanted, and then she ended up having her baby. But at home, if something were to go wrong, there's only limited things that we can do. If everything is fine and healthy, the mom is healthy, the baby is healthy, most of the midwives I work with, they know what to do. They know how to turn the baby. They know how to get the baby out. So I've never had to have another hospital transfer other than that case.
No wonder they are taking the nurses from here to the UK.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I believe there's a lot of skill here.
Oh, so much skill. So much skill. And I would say especially the midwives who work in the villages and who are working outside of the
Medical
hospital.
system, yeah.
Yes, they know the most. They know
Yeah,
the
it would
most.
make sense because, I mean, they don't have the flexibility of, if something goes wrong, there's a doctor here. They have to make it happen.
Exactly.
So it would make sense that they have more experience and more knowledge in that area.
And then oftentimes surgery is not an option.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
Right. It makes sense. So second, third trimester, you have to consider all these options.
Yes. So now, third trimester, you already know you're having a baby, you're healthy, you're eating well, you're drinking well, you have your birth plan, you have your birth team. I suggest you start taking some kind of classes, both you and your partner, to mentally be able to make decisions, the best decisions of how you want to have this baby. You stay in shape. You make sure you keep. You don't have to work out, but even if it's just a half-hour walk on a regular basis, you make sure you do that. You drink your red raspberry tea. So those
red
are
raspberry
red
tea.
raspberry. If you can, I'm sure Ghana has an alternative. The country is so rich. I'm coming in with my knowledge from the West. I'm trying to change that though. But I know that red raspberry tea is really good. It helps.
What does
it helps the cervix to dilate once labor starts. Same thing as dates, eating dates. So basically when you eat it, there's something that's happening.
Pineapples too, right?
Yes, pineapples is more towards the end. When you're ready to give birth,
okay,
you can start eating more pineapples. But the dates, the red raspberry, around 32, 33 weeks of pregnancy, you can start drinking 2 cups of tea, red raspberry tea, and then about 6 dates a day up until baby's here. So those are the 2 things I really swear by. There's other things that you can do to start labor sooner, but to be honest, just between us, baby's going to come when baby's ready. That's it. Whether it's earlier or, I always tell my clients a normal pregnancy is between 37 and 43 weeks. 43. Except that at the hospital, they're not going to let you go past 42 because, they will tell you that the placenta might stop functioning, a baby will come, baby might become sick or not have enough nutrients and something bad might happen. But a healthy pregnancy is between 37 and 43 weeks.
Okay, so third trimester, now once the baby is delivered, through whatever means, what's the next step? How do we, is the cord clumping? Should we cut the cord immediately? Do we wait? Do the placenta, do we take it? Do we let them keep it?
I love your questions. I'm so grateful because this information is so crucial. So when it comes to the cord, as the baby is born, the cord is kind of like a spiral. You'll see it's so beautiful. And it's like white and blue. The blue part is the blood that is coming from the placenta back to the baby now.
Okay.
That blood is super important. Some hospitals actually, they collect that blood also for stem cells and to cure. It's so important. You want your baby to have, I would almost say, every last drop there is, but if it's not that, at least as much as possible, because it's there to strengthen the baby's immune system. Baby will be fine whether you cut the cord immediately or not, but it just helps. Exactly. So in most hospitals here, they will wait a few minutes. I've seen at one hospital, one doctor said, oh yeah, we do delayed cord clamping. But with delayed, he meant 1 minute. So it is delayed, I mean, he's right, except that you can cut it right away. You can wait a few minutes. What I suggest you do is you wait until it stops pulsating.
I heard that before.
Yes, and that can be 5 minutes. The longest I've seen was 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
That's the longest I've seen. Yes, and then the cord becomes white, just white, and it's not coily anymore. It's just a straight cord now, and it's white. And then you cut it. If you want to cut it, you can also have a lotus bird. Even in Ghana, I'm so proud to say this, you can even have a lotus bird in Ghana.
What's a lotus bird?
A lotus bird is when you don't cut the cord at all.
You
Never.
don't cut it?
Never.
Okay.
It stays, so basically the baby is born. The mother delivers the placenta, even if you have a C-section.
Okay.
So it's not how the baby was born. So baby is born, you have the placenta, you keep the placenta in a bowl. So I would say you use one of those cotton pads to basically just absorb whatever liquid is still in the placenta. You put it in a bowl, you put the placenta in it, and you have the placenta near the baby. Some cords are really long, others aren't, but you just keep the placenta next to the baby at all times. So the lotus bird is basically when you wait until the cord falls off naturally. It can be 2 days, it can be 7 days, it can be 10 days. The drier the environment, the sooner it will fall off.
So while you're breastfeeding and all that, the cord should be attached
to the baby, yes.
Isn't that
yeah,
cumbersome?
It is. Yeah, it takes a little getting used to.
But what's the point of that?
Aha. So medically, having the cord attached longer than when it already stops pulsating, I would say not much. Not much. However, some tribes believe that the placenta, and I believe the same thing though. I had 3 lotus births. All my children were lotus births. They believe that the placenta is the spiritual twin of the baby, meaning it was with the baby for 9 months. It protected, it nurtured, it made sure the baby was fine for 9 months. So you don't just cut that connection abruptly. You wait until the two are ready to separate on its own. That's it. I heard of one person that I personally know who still remembers when his cord was cut. And some people might think that, okay, that is kind of extreme, but he says he remembers, subconsciously he remembers the pain of being separated from the placenta. That's one person. So the dryer...
Doesn't it rot?
No, but that's a good question. It's a really good question. Of course, yes. So taking care of a placenta during a lotus birth is completely different of when you want to bury it or you want to encapsulate it. So basically, when you want to have a lotus birth, first thing you do is wash the placenta. So usually, if you're home or the hospital, doesn't matter, it will be the husband who will go with the baby. So usually you have your nurse or midwife or mom, not the one who gave birth, but let's say the grandmother, somebody carrying the baby, and then the husband will take care of the placenta. So you wash the placenta, you make sure most blood clots are gone, and you try to dry it as much as possible. This part is crucial. It has to be as dry as much as possible. Then you cover it with salt. The reason why is because you don't want it to get infected. You don't want any bacteria. And I don't know if you're aware, but especially in Europe, before there were fridges, they used to store their meat with salt. Even now, saltfish. I'm pretty sure even in Ghana, that's how they preserve.
It's a preservative.
Exactly. So it's to make sure things don't rot.
Right.
Same thing with the placenta.
Okay.
I suggest pink Himalayan salt just because of the energetically and then the properties of the salt as well. And then you can just keep it as that. So you cover the top and the bottom, or you can add more herbs to it. So every herb that exists has a property, a physical and a spiritual property. So you can use, for example, rose petals, you can use rosemary, you can use basil. It depends on what you want for the child. I know that basil, for example, gives protection. Others help you from getting ill. So you have to do your own research and decide which herbs you want to use. And the way we do it, and my clients who are interested in the lotus birth, the ones I train, what I always say is pick your blend beforehand, bring it to the birth, and as you're putting the salt, as you're putting the herbs on the placenta, do a little prayer or affirmations. Speak into existence what you want that child to be, what you want the child to have. And it's like a ceremony where it's mainly the father, because the mom, she just went through childbirth, but that is usually a part that the father does actively, is speak words of power, of protection, of wisdom over the placenta and the baby. And then you just leave it as that. The next day you can wash it again and add more salt, and that's it. After that you just leave it. Every day you can add more and more salt, but you don't wash it again. You just add salt, you add herbs, and then you wait until it dries out around the navel, and that's it. And then you can still bury it.
Okay.
I mean, in our case, we're planning on bury it under a baobab tree just because of the meaning. But you can, after that, definitely you can't encapsulate it anymore, or take it in at all. But you can definitely bury it. And you also cannot use it for the stem cells anymore either, because of all the herbs and so.
But for most people here, I think they go through the normal one, the cord cutting immediately.
Yes, and that's your absolute right. But what I want to express as well is that if you're interested in a lotus birth, most doctors have not heard of it. When we went with my son, they didn't know, and my husband said, I'm not asking you not to cut the cord. I'm telling you, you're not allowed to cut my son's cord. We said it with a lot of respect, but that was our choice and it's our responsibility. If we need to sign something, we'll sign it. But I do not give you permission to cut my son's cord. And that's the end of it. Most people don't even know that you can do that. You can do that. Obviously, we studied. We knew, because they even sent the pediatrician to try to talk us out of it. But we knew what we were doing. This was the third time, so. And all of our children are fine.
So when a baby comes, what is the next step? What do you think about protecting the baby against diseases? How is that? What's the most effective way, according to you, that it can be done?
The most effective way, I would say, physically breastfeeding. Breastfeeding. Make sure the baby gets the colostrum. The colostrum is the very first milk. It's this thick yellowish milk that comes, doesn't matter how many children you have before, but the very, very first milk, that is packed with nutrients. You can't replace that, but I mean you can, but it's not going to be the same effect. So definitely breastfeeding, skin to skin, just the temperature of your body temperature regulating the baby's temperature helps a lot, helps to get the baby stronger as well. Simple things like, putting a hat on the baby, making sure the heat doesn't leave, because the heat will leave through the top of the baby's head. So protecting the baby that way. And then on a more spiritual level, I always suggest women to keep the child home for a while. You decide how long, but don't be out and about the first week, maybe even 2 weeks, 3 weeks. In my culture, is like 30 to 40 days you stay inside. You make sure that your baby is protected inside before you bring it outside of your home. So things like that. When babies are born, they have vernix on their skin, which is vernix. It's like this white cream that they're born with. As soon as they're born, they have this thick vernix all over their skin. Leave it on the skin, don't rub it off. It's also there to protect the baby from, we're here, but we don't realize that there's bacteria everywhere.
So let me get it straight. I want to understand what that vernix is. So when the baby is born, immediately, or is it after they've washed the baby?
No, immediately.
So when the baby comes to me, they don't have to wash the baby?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Because there's vernix, so that cream is already on their skin. It's from within. Okay. That's how they're born with.
Okay.
So their body will absorb that vernix, and it helps them to protect them against, the bacteria that is in the air that we're used to, but for them it's new. They're just born. So nature gave us everything. We don't need to run with oil and no, the vernix is there. In some hospitals, they will wipe it off. They will bathe the baby. Usually not within 24 hours though, which is a good thing. But at least wait until the baby's skin absorbs all of the vernix.
Okay.
Before you bathe the child.
Is it more than 24 hours? Or?
Even more, you can wait longer, which is fine. I mean, as long as, obviously you want to get rid of, if there's any blood or something, that is different from actually giving them a bath and rubbing them with soap. That's different.
Okay, so you mentioned breastfeeding. I know a lot of women who don't get the breast milk when their baby is born. What about them? How do they protect their child?
In that case, well, I think people are not going to like what I'm going to say, but if you know someone who is breastfeeding and you can get breast milk through a healthy person, you can do that.
So somebody else's breast milk?
Somebody else, but I would say somebody could be like your sister or your cousin, but someone who's healthy. That's so important because you have a new baby. And if not, there's formula. There's always formula, which is not necessarily the best option, but you want the child to drink, to eat. Yes. And then also, even before you get to that, try to figure out why is there no breast milk coming? Because it takes a while. I'm laughing because I'm explaining all of this to you. But I want you to know as well, because you're a man, but I'm happy at the same time. But I'm explaining all these female things. So basically, when it's your first baby, it can take about 2 to 3 days before you have like white running milk. The first milk can take about 1 day.
Okay.
As long as you keep trying, whether baby's latching on or you're pumping, as long as you keep trying.
It will come.
If you have a second child, the milk will come sooner. The more children you have, the sooner the milk will come. Some moms don't have milk until they get back home because they feel stressed at the hospital, but once they're relaxed at home, the milk will come. Okay. So it's important to find out why and at least try. You can take a lactation consultant from the hospital or anywhere else to help you with breastfeeding. Okay. So don't give up. The first few days are so important. Don't give up.
What about vaccination? There are so many, concerns, and there are some people who trust this wholeheartedly. Some people are concerned about the long-term side effect, whether it's actually necessary, whether actually that's the job it's supposed to do, or it's just some means of making money. What do you think about vaccination? How does that? Would you advise it? What are your thoughts on it?
When it comes to vaccines, just like with everything else, I will try to explain some of the benefits, some of the risks of some of them to my clients. It's up to them to choose. It's such a sensitive topic. I believe that vaccines have saved people's lives for sure, but I also believe that it has ruined some people's lives. So it is the parents' responsibility now to make the best decision for their child. That's it. I support parents who don't want to vaccinate their children, and I support those who want to give all the vaccines in the world. If that's what they choose to do for their family, then that's what they should do.
So what are the some of the negative side that you've experienced?
So no, I haven't experienced any negative side effects personally, or I don't know any of my clients who have, but I do have friends who have two of my friends have a child with autism, and it has been linked to the vaccine that they had as a baby. So does it mean that, all vaccines? Absolutely not. But there has been studies showing that especially melanated boys have a higher chance of getting autism after taking certain vaccines. So if you're willing to take that chance, then that's what you should do.
So
If not,
is it dangerous not to vaccinate? I mean, so imagine you are breastfeeding the child, proper nutrition. The child gets all the sleep. The mother is not stressed, And when the child grows up too, there's good nutrition, lots of fruits, exercise, and other things. Do you think it will be
yes,
necessary?
the one thing you forgot to mention is just hygiene. Are you living in an hygienic environment? Okay. Exactly. So in that case, I would say no, it's not dangerous not to vaccinate your child. Okay. I've known people who have never taken a vaccine in their life, and they're healthier than I am.
But then there's this fear.
Of course.
What if they are spreading all these, you see, serious polio or
Yeah, and I can understand doctors, for example, who are very adamant of vaccinating children because they see the worst. They see the worst. Like most midwives, like me as a doula, I don't see anyone, they don't come to me when there's an emergency or they need surgery they don't come to me for that. So I've never seen anyone with polio. I've never seen anyone go through a terrible sick disease that they could have prevented by getting a vaccine. Never in my life. So I understand that some really insist because they know what it's like and they don't want it to happen to you. I understand that. But like I said, I'm very supportive towards those who try to do things the natural way.
So now baby is out, you are protecting the baby, and when does your work end? At what point does the work end?
So me personally, I stay with the couple until 6 weeks postpartum. So I will come and see the mom about 3 times after she's giving birth, unless she wants me to come more often. So I will usually come the next day of the birth. I will come maybe 2 weeks later or a week later again, and then 6 weeks whenever she has settled in now. She's settled in, baby's fine, breastfeeding, everyone's healthy, and there's some kind of a routine that will mainly be my last visit. Even though the beautiful thing about Ghana is that my clients and I, we've become like family. We stay in touch. It's not last visit and I never see you again. That doesn't happen.
So after women give birth, your body has gone through several changes. I hear reports of certain issues. It's like they were not told before, but after birth they realized they're having this. Is it diastasis recti?
Yes.
When the muscles open up, and then they also have sciatica pains.
Yes.
And what are your experiences with all these issues that women have? Can you shed more light on it?
Sure. So personally, I haven't experienced women with too many. So let me talk about the ones that I do have experience with, which is mainly issues after a surgery. If they had a C-section, a scar not healing properly, or women becoming a little incontinent after pushing baby out.
That's a what?
Incontinent, meaning they can't hold their urine.
Okay.
The urine comes out. Exactly. So that now, for those type of things, it wouldn't really be the doula that they would have to go to find support with, but it would be the doctor or the midwife.
Okay. I actually wanted to know some of the problems that women face. I want to help people understand. What are some of the challenges? What they should expect? Is it fine when it happens? Which ones are dangerous when it happens? And what should they do?
So after after giving birth, definitely a woman's, not just her body, but her mind, everything changes. Everything. The person she was before is gone. And you might not see her again. All of a sudden, you got the sleepless nights, you got your body that is completely acting differently. Doesn't matter how your baby was born, but everything completely changes. I noticed oftentimes that it's very difficult for the men because their wife has changed now. She's different. For your wife, okay, you have the baby's here. Everybody thinks that you should be happy. You have your child, and why are you, maybe depressed, or why are you not at peace with what happened, or just because it's a lot. It's a lot. Now you have this little person who's constantly seeking your attention, demanding.
Yeah.
Breastfeeding, we haven't spoken about breastfeeding, but breastfeeding hurts. It hurts. Especially the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
If it's your first baby, oh my God, it hurts so much, and nobody will tell you that.
Like what, the nipple heads or the whole breast?
Yes. Even if everything is fine, even the baby doesn't have a tongue tie and no cracks on, it still hurts. And it's something you have to go through. There's little things, maybe put cabbage there or use breast milk, but it still hurts. Same thing as giving birth. There's a few things you can do, but it still hurts. So the feeling of not being in control, you have to let go. You just have to surrender. So as men, I advise men to be patient with their wives, because they don't know what's going on really. I mean, they have to go through it. They have to go, not meaning they don't know what's going on, but they don't know what to expect. They don't know if certain things are normal or not. You have to go through the pains. And the husband did not go through the pain. So be patient, try to be understanding. Not just for the first 6 weeks, but try to be as patient as is necessary for your wife. It can take months for your wife to feel normal again. When I had my first baby, it took me like 6 months before I just, I had that life in me again. And I was ready to step out and have fun, but it took a long time. It can take a toll on the women mentally. So definitely be patient with the wife. Another thing, doesn't matter how a woman gives birth, whether it's vaginally or C-section, both are hard. C-section is not the easy way out. Whoever thinks the C-section is easier, it's not the easy way out. Because at least when you have a vaginal birth, you're pushing the baby out. The pain, it becomes gradually, you get to the point where now it's time to push. You push out the placenta. All of this is uncomfortable. You still have some contractions afterwards, but then the pain gradually goes away. When you have a C-section, whether it has been planned or not, if it's planned, most of the time you don't have labor. You just go in, you get the surgery, but it doesn't matter. If it's unplanned, you go through the labor pains, then it's time to push or whatever happens, and now you have to go into surgery, but that's when the pain begins. They will give you painkillers for the first few days, but you have your baby, everybody tells you to be happy, but now you have to heal from what's going on.
Yeah.
Yes, they cut through at least 5 different layers in your body. Crazy. It took me like 6 months to be able to, my first one was a C-section, to be able to walk straight. Like I was walking like this for months, and just mentally trying to figure out why did this happen? What happened, and how was I not able to protect myself from this happening? It's heavy. It's not the easy way out at all, especially not if it wasn't planned. If it was planned, it's different. It's still hard on the body, but if it was unplanned, no, men. You need you. You oh
Yeah,
no.
let us know. Let the men
Oh
know.
yes. It's not, and it's even if you have another second C-section, a third, a fourth, a fifth, it doesn't matter. It's still, it gets easier, but physically it is not simple at all.
So what about, have you had any experiences with stillbirths and babies who die before their time? How does it impact the mothers?
My only experience with stillbirth was through a client who had a stillbirth before she met me. So I'm very grateful. None of my clients ever had a stillbirth. No.
But what causes it though?
Oh, whew. The list is endless. It could be as simple as neglect. That's what happened to that mom. She felt something was wrong. She went to the hospital. They didn't react, and the heartbeat stopped. So instead of doing an emergency C-section, they waited too long. They could have saved the child, but they didn't. So, but it could be numerous of reasons why a baby dies before a time. Yes, it hasn't been my experience. What I have experienced, though, as I mentioned, is someone getting pregnant after having a stillbirth and then having a successful, healthy child and delivery. And you can just see the pleasure in the mother's face of like, look, my baby is fine. Obviously, she will still panic the first day, right, because you're not certain if the baby is going to stay alive, but just the joy of her pushing the baby out and holding the baby and telling her son, I needed you. Like, thank you so much for this beautiful experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't pay for that.
The childbirth industry, right? Do you think it has been capitalized?
Oh yes, absolutely. The health industry,
the whole health
in general,
industry, yeah.
In general, but childbirth. Just when you look at the beginning, a woman is pregnant. Now all of a sudden she has all these prenatal appointments to go to. She has to do all these labs. And those labs are not cheap. They're not cheap at all. Yes, like I understand that obviously if there's a high risk of something going wrong, you want people around you who are who are taking care of you, who are making sure that everything is normal. But to say that every woman, every pregnant woman needs prenatal or antenatal support, antenatal appointment every month, and towards the end is like every 2 weeks, and then it's every week. No,
it's too much.
It's way too much. There's one of the doctors told my clients, you don't have to come next week. I mean, I'm just going to tell you.
People need updates. People need to check if the baby is growing as it should, if the baby is, the heartbeat is, the monitoring and all that.
Every month. And there's also ways. You spoke about the heartbeat, of course, but a woman can also feel when baby is moving less, especially toward the third trimester. You know, your question was, has it been capitalized?
Yeah.
The answer is yes.
Yes,
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I personally think that it's good to have antenatal care for sure, but just not as much as it's being done now. That's my opinion on it.
Right. And the pain relief and even the procedure, the C-section and
the pain relief, that's something else. It's good that it's there. It's good that it should be there. It should be an option because it hurts. But I've been to hospitals where they sell it to you like, on a silver platter, and they will tell you, men will tell you, it hurts, it really hurts.
So you should take it.
Yes, we don't like to see our patients suffer. So please, you can book me now, because if you don't book me now, I might not be there and then you will suffer.
Right.
And with me, booking me, I mean the anesthesiologist telling them, book your appointment on time so that you will be fine.
They also need money because you pay for it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an industry, it's a business now.
I would like to know your conclusion on this whole childbirth process. What is your view on it? How do you think it can be improved, and what should women and men do going forward?
How it can be improved? I think we have to take steps back again, meaning rather than over medicating everything, rather than going through so many surgeries, we have to come up with different options. In the beginning we spoke about the word alternatives, different alternatives or different options, unless there's an emergency, of course. I'm not talking about those things, but going back to nature. We need to go back to nature. We need to talk to nature. We need to find out what are all these plants for. They're here for a reason, right? When I'm with my clients, I give them massages, counter pressure massages, to help relieve the pain rather than getting an injection through your spine. There's other things that you can do. So I am though very, very hopeful about the birthing scene in Ghana, because as I've mentioned, I've spoken a lot about water births, 2 different midwives, 2 hospitals as well, and I've seen them being very open. So more and more people are open to different ways of giving birth, which is fantastic. And I think that taking a step a little back from all the medication and stuff is a huge step forward.
So do you think there's a knowledge gap between from what the parents and all those people involved are supposed to know and what they actually know, and how to go about it?
Of
do you
course,
think there's a gap?
Of course. I think that those childbirth classes that I'm giving and that hospitals are giving, I think they should give them in schools.
In schools?
Yes, that's basic knowledge.
Primary.
Because we're all going to get pregnant sooner or later. We're all going to have a child. I mean, most of the people, sooner or later. So, why not? This is common. It should be common information. Everything that I'm sharing with you today should be common information. Everybody should have access to that information as well.
So is there a difference between what you do as a doula and indigenous ways of childbirth?
I would say yes, because I support the parents' decisions. I have clients who come to me and who tell me, okay, I want to have an epidural and I want you there because my mom is not there, or my husband is not supportive. So I'm still going to be their doula as well. So I'll just share all the things that I do, and then they can pick whichever thing is for them. That's it. I don't impose anything. Whatever the client wants and I'm comfortable with, that's what we're going to do.
That's fine. So are you in Ghana to stay?
Yeah, I'm going to be in Ghana for a while. I love traveling. I want my children. I've seen the world. My parents have shown me different continents, and I want my children to have the same experience. So we are here for now, for a while. But we're definitely going to travel again.
I see. So do you have like a company, a registered company here? What's the name of your service?
Yes, I have a company called Uzuri Birth.
Uzuri Birth.
Uzuri Birth.
How do you spell it?
Uzuri.
Okay.
Birth. B-I-R-T-H.
Okay.
Birth. Uzuri Birth. So you can, that's my website, uzuribirth.com. I am on Instagram, which is Uzuri Life, Life, where I just share some of the birth stories, some of my life experiences. And then other than that, I work with other midwives as well. So it's really a team of us. You can just book me, you can book us as a team, you can book another doula, like whatever you want. If you're pregnant and you're in Ghana and you don't know where to start, I'll guide you. I can guide you, and then you decide who you want to work with.
Okay, so you make them understand the choices available and what...
There's choices. There's lots of choices.
Okay.
So that's what I'm here to offer.
All right. So if somebody wants to contact you, do they go on social media? Do you have a number you could call?
Yes, they can go on my social media and write me a message, like I said, Uzuri Life, or they go to my website and write me an email, uzuribirth@gmail.com is my email address.
Okay. All right. So thank you very much, Bobette. It's been nice having you. I mean, you've given us inside details of what a doula does and how it's helped the whole childbirth process. Thank you very much, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
I hope you get more businesses, and we have another conversation where you probably go into some of the things that you didn't really have experience on. Yeah.
I'm grateful, and I want to thank you as well, because this is not just a conversation about birth.
Right.
I meet grandmothers who accompany their daughter during their birth and who tell me that they wish they knew that there was a doula, that exists even. Because even at the age of 60 or 70, they're still traumatized about what happened to them when they gave birth. So I'm grateful for you offering this platform. It's more than just talking about birth. It's actually really limiting traumatic experiences and taking back your power.
I like that.
Thank you.
I like that a lot. Limiting traumatic experience and taking back your power.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So one of our shows, right? One of the interviews I had with a certain gentleman, he posed a question to the next guest.
Okay.
Yeah. And the question is, how many people have you helped rise?
How many people have I helped rise?
Yes. He wants to know.
Okay, sure. So I think during my profession as a doula, I've accompanied at least 100 people.
At least 100
yes, people? Couples.
Yeah.
So that's 200 people in total.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot, huh?
So yeah. you took them from a level and then helped them rise to a certain level.
Yes, absolutely.
Can you explain that? Like, what level did you?
Yes, well, I believe that a lot of them came to me with fear, with questions, with insecurities, and I've been able to make them stronger, more powerful, more educated people, people who are proud to be who they are and proud of the decision. Just simple things as teaching them how to make decisions, make your own decisions. Simple as that.
That's a huge number to be, That's a huge number, yeah. And I know, and these are the ones that you know.
That I know.
Talk about the ones you don't know, ones who have heard your stories on the interviews and other things.
Yes.
That's a big number.
Yes.
I like that.
And it's an honor, it's a pleasure, it's a calling, it's something that I'm called to do. So.